Hare Krishna, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. So here this morning we have Mani, Mother Mani, Bhakta Eze, Dear Govinda Prabhu, and whoever else is there today, Bhakta Keith, Ramachandra Prabhu, Dominique, George, Drew, Daru Brahma, Leah, and Rukmini. Thank you for joining us this morning. So today is a very auspicious day. It's Independence Day. Today is a very auspicious day. Actually, it's Sanatan Goswami's disappearance day, as well as Guru Purnima, and the beginning of Chaturmasya. 4 months opportune for Vaishnavas to do more austerity in connecting their practice and it's the inauguration of our 24-hour kirtan. Haribol!
Haribol!
So today I want to speak a little bit about the holy name, its potency, about kirtan. So I'm going to read from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila 17:133. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gatamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrinda Vaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Garadhara Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Bhashyatade Shatarine Harirnam Eva Kevalam Kalo Nasteva Gatiranyata Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Gadadhara Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Dvaita
Gadadhara Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya
Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Gadadhara Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Dvaita Gadadhara Gaura Vrinda
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Dvaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Dvaita Gadadhara
Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So reading from Madhya Lila, chapter 17, verse 33. Nama Chintamani Krishnas Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purna Shuddho Nitya Mukto Binatvam Nama Namino. Should we repeat? Yeah, I'll just read it. Nama,
Nama,
the holy name.
the holy name.
Chintamani,
Chintamani,
transcendently blissful giver of all spiritual benedictions. Transcendently
transcendently
blissful giver of all spiritual benedictions. Krishna,
Krishna,
not different from Krishna.
non-different from Krishna.
Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha,
Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha,
the form of all transcendental mellows.
the form of all transcendental mellows.
Purna,
Purna,
complete.
complete.
Shuddha,
Shuddha,
pure.
pure,
Without material contamination.
without material contamination.
Nitya,
Nitya,
eternal.
eternal.
Mukta,
Mukta,
liberated.
liberated.
Abhinatvat,
Abhinatvat,
due to not being different.
due to not being different.
Nama,
Nama,
of the holy name.
of the holy name.
Namino,
Nominal,
and of the person who has the name.
and of the person who has the name.
Nama Chintamani Krishnas Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purna Shuddho Nitya Mukto Binatva Nama Namino. Nama Chintamani Krishnas Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purna Shuddho Nitya Mukto Binatva Nama Namino. Nama Chintamani Krishnas Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purna Shuddho Nitya Mukto Binatva Nama Namino. Madhya Lila, chapter 17, verse 133. The holy translation. The holy name of Krishna is transcendently blissful. It bestows all spiritual benedictions, for it is Krishna himself, the reservoir of all pleasure. Krishna's name is complete, and it is the form of all transcendental mellows. It is not a material name under any condition, and it is no less powerful than Krishna himself. Since Krishna's name is not contaminated by the material qualities, there is no question of its being involved with Maya. Krishna's name is always liberated and spiritual. It is never conditioned by the laws of material nature. This is because the name of Krishna and Krishna himself are identical. So in the purport, here I just have, this is a quotation from Padma Purana. So this verse is quite important, and Prabhupada mentions it quite a bit. And I felt like a natural purport to it was from a lecture on the Maha Mantra that we read this morning during Mangalarti. And it just seemed so potent and perfect that I wanted to share it in class as well. So this is Srila Prabhupada speaking on the Maha Mantra in New York on September 8th, 1966. The spiritual vision to see God. Now, some of you members have asked me to explain the meaning of this chanting. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This sound is transcendental sound incarnation of the absolute truth. Just try to understand what is incarnation. The Sanskrit word is avatara, and that is translated into English as incarnation. The root meaning of avatar is which comes from the transcendental sky, the spiritual sky to the material sky. That is called avatar. Avatarana means coming from up to down. That is called avatarana. And avatar is understood that when God or his bona fide representatives come from the sky to this material plane, that is called avatara. So this is the meaning in a nutshell of this spiritual vibration. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Now, according to grammatical rules, when somebody is addressed, just like in your English language, it is a note of address. Oh, Mr. Such and Such. Similarly, in Sanskrit grammar, the note of address, which is called sambodhana, that is expressed in this way. So Hare is the note of address form of the sound Hara. Hara means the potency of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord is represented everywhere by his potency. Similarly, there are two kinds of expansions of the Lord. One kind of expansion is called Vishnu Tattva, Vishnu Tattva means the expansion. They are as equal as God himself. And there are expansions which are called Jiva Tattva, the living entities. This expansion of the living entities, they are not equally powerful, but the expansion of Vishnu Tattva is equally powerful, as good as God himself. So the incarnation of God means the expansion which is as good as God himself. That is called incarnation. So this Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, is the expansion, incarnation, sound incarnation of God, not representation. God presents himself in this form of sound because we cannot see God with our present eyes, because this is not our proper eyes. They are material eyes. You don't think that this eye, the transparent thing floating in this hole that is not seeing, if you take this eye out, you cannot see. It is simply a lens only. So none of this body is actually the thing which is taking part. So therefore, with these eyes, with these material eyes, you cannot see. The present senses cannot have any knowledge of the Supreme God. But how then can we have knowledge? If my senses are unfit, then how can I make it fit? Oh, that is the thing. That is the thing. You have to spiritualize. Spiritualize these material sense organs. And then when you spiritualize, then you can have the spiritual vision to see God and yourself. The same example which I have recited many times. Just like the iron rod. Iron rod you put into the fire. It gets warm, warmer. And when it's red hot, then it is no longer iron. Iron it is, but it does not act as iron, but it acts as fire. That iron rod which is red hot in association with fire, you can take that rod and touch anything. It will burn. That means it is no longer acting as iron. It is acting as fire. Similarly, if you associate with this transcendental incarnation, sound incarnation of God, then you will be gradually godly. You will be godly. You can become godly with God's association, not by any other means, extraneous things. No, just like you can have fire only in association with fire, not water. If you want to get yourself warm, then you have to associate with fire, not with water, not with air. Similarly, if you want to spiritualize your vision, if you want to spiritualize your action, if you want to spiritualize the whole constitution of your existence, then you have to associate with the Supreme Spirit. And that Supreme Spirit is very kind because he is everything. That we have already explained. Everything is interrelated with the Supreme. Therefore, he is interrelated with sound also. So by God's inconceivable potency, he can present before yourself in sound incarnation. That is his potency. That is his potency. He can do that. And therefore this name, Krishna, and the Supreme Lord Krishna, there is no difference.
Right.
Jai Shri Prabhupada. So, yeah, here's Srila Prabhupada. He talks about avatar, coming down, that which comes down from the spiritual to the material, doesn't become engrossed in the material, is still fully situated in the transcendental platform. And God does this, and his bona fide, liberated, pure devotees, representatives do this. They come and they instruct us. So today being the disappearance day of Sanatan Goswami. Sanatan Goswami is one such representative, one pure devotee of the Lord, one of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. He's the brother of Srila Rupa Goswami. And he's authorized by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Srila Prabhupada is giving us that understanding that this transcendental knowledge comes down through authorized representatives, through parampara. So for us to come in contact with transcendental vibration, that's always coming through someone who is red hot, who's already on fire. To ignite our little spark, our who we are essentially is that spark of that consciousness, that part and parcel of God, that part and parcel of Krishna, to continue to remember that, to revive that, we need to be in association with that fire. So Sanatan Goswami is one of these fires that we can associate with, and we're getting Sanatan Goswami directly through Srila Prabhupada and his teachings. Sanatan Goswami, there's so many beautiful pastimes of his in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and he's a prolific writer. He wrote Hari Bhakti Vilas, which is an important treatise about like how to behave as a Vaishnava, glorifying Vaishnavas. It glorifies Krishna and Tulasi, gives instructions for how to conduct worship. He also wrote the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, which is a beautiful quest, and like that follows like the quest of reaching higher states of bliss, of transcendence through more and more subtle means. And he performed so much austerity, and is qualified, is more than qualified, but is one of those bearers of truth, those bearers of light that we can associate with in order to revive that spark within us. So in this age of Kali, Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, he gives many processes for attaining liberation, for attaining self-realization and God realization. And this process of chanting the names of God is especially recommended in this age. In the Kali Shantarana Upanishad, it says, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Iti Shodasakam Nam Kali Kalma Sanasanam, Nata Paratar Prayapaya Sarva Vedeshu Drishyate. So these 16 names of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, they destroy all the inauspiciousness of the age of Kali. This is the conclusion of all the Vedas. So the conclusion of all Vedic knowledge, which gives us so much understanding of reality, of astronomy, of physics, of how to nicely earn money and live peacefully and all these things. The conclusion of all this is just by chanting the names, this combination of the names of God in this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, of so much corruption, chaos, internal and external. This is what will remove that inauspiciousness in the simplest and most potent way. So we can see, for example, on Independence Day here in the United States, so much that we do in the name of freedom and independence. If we look at it honestly, I know for myself this is true, so much of what I have done in the name of independence and freedom is actually just entangled myself more in attachments to material objects, to material relationships, to wanting to just enjoy my senses, and thus becoming a sold out slave to those senses. And then like waking up by the grace of Srila Prabhupada and the devotees to seeing how like, oh yeah, I think like I thought I was free, but I'm obviously like depressed, anxious, like hankering for what's next, how do I next like please these senses? I'm like running out of ideas. Oh, here's a good idea, maybe this will work. Oh, just like a little distracted for a little bit, and then again starting the same cycle. So that's especially true in Kali Yuga, that we're pretty much utterly hopeless without this direct channel that we're given through the parampara, through these seers of truth, who are bringing us these this wisdom and this understanding and this Maha Mantra. So this chanting of the Maha Mantra, Srila Prabhupada talks about it not being an imposition. It's not a practice that we do that's like endeavoring to impose some external thing so that we can control. It's not. It's actually the constitutional position of ourself, of our soul, is to be in the spirit of the Maha Mantra, is to be glorifying God, rejoicing in our connection with God, and loving God in a devotional attitude. In chanting the Maha Mantra, we're recommended to be in this prayerful mood of, oh Lord, please accept me, please engage me in your service. So that's our natural position, is to actually want that, is to be actually want like being, to be fully engaged in that relationship with our beloved, to be serving Krishna in whatever way pleases him. So we're endeavoring to actually remember that, to connect with the truth that's our innermost desire, is actually that, and it's just so covered up by so much conditioning, so much desire to just please our senses and to want to enjoy separately from Krishna. And so to remember that our true enjoyment comes from that connection with Krishna, that servitude of Krishna, that this Maha Mantra is chipping away at our conditioning, at layers and layers of hardness and armor around our hearts. So by receiving this mantra from the pure devotee, by endeavoring to chant it in a fixed manner, just like Sanatan Goswami and the Goswamis are teaching us, they have smart goals, they're regulating themselves, and chanting a fixed number of rounds. They're glorifying Tulsi Devi, they're glorifying Guru and Krishna daily. Today is, like I mentioned, is Guru Purnima, and Prabhupada mentions in a few instances I found, he mentions how today is an auspicious day, and at the same time, most Vaishnavas, like Guru Purnima is more of a impersonalist or Mayavad festival, because my understanding from what I read from Prabhupada is like Vaishnavas want to glorify Guru every day. Every day we're encouraged to sing samsara prayers, to remember that mercy of Guru, to call out to Srila Prabhupada in this mood of gratitude, in this mood of seeing our position as in this forest fire of misery, and seeing how Sri Guru is coming as like a condensed cloud and raining down so much mercy, so much wisdom that can help us open our eyes with the salve of love, of wisdom, the torchlight of knowledge. They're giving us this ability to start waking up from our misery. First to start waking up to our misery, and then waking up from our misery. And in these prayers we're saying, yes, Shakshad Hari, that these representatives are one and the same as God, and they're bringing us this torchlight of the names of God. So yeah, we endeavored to connect with that in a fixed way, chanting rounds regularly, engaging in congregational chanting of the Maha Mantra, because it's a gradual process. It's a gradual process. We've been shown so much by our parampara that we need to constantly be turning on the alarm that's going to wake us up from this slumber, this dreamscape of material illusion, and to wake up to that everything is Krishna, that every sound is Krishna. Srila Prabhupada, in the Bhagavad Gita verse, Rasoham Apya Sokunte, like I am the taste of water, I'm the smell of the earth, when Krishna gives some Arjuna so much understanding about how he's in everything, he's all pervasive, Srila Prabhupada encourages us to see that, and at the same time there's a distinction between the word water and the object water. We might not see yet that Krishna is in water, and so the vibration of Krishna, that cannot be separated from Krishna himself. That's his name and it's absolute. And so by praying to Krishna in this way, through the Maha Mantra, by reciting the Maha Mantra, singing it in japa form, then we can gradually wake up to the reality that Krishna is in every sound, that Krishna is in everything. If we endeavor to say, well, I know that, and I know this is true for me, I've found myself like, oh, I know that Krishna is everything, and like, you know, this like false transcendence, like, yeah, God is everything, God is one, and so like, why would I need to chant God's name? Everything's God's name. And suddenly I'm just like so lost in my it's just, so I'm saying personally how, okay, that's true, it's true, and where am I at, and what do I need to actually gradually realize that, and so this humility that's required to accept from a higher authority, to accept from Srila Prabhupada, to accept from Guru, to take on a steady and regular practice in chanting is so important. So in the 9 limbs of bhakti, there's Shravanam, listening, hearing about the Lord, and Kirtanam. Those are the first 2 limbs of bhakti, hearing and chanting. And Srila Prabhupada stresses that Kirtan is reading from the Bhagavad Gita, from the Bhagavatam, sharing story about Krishna Lila, chanting japa, discussing topics around devotional service. This is all Kirtan. Chanting together, singing. This is all Kirtan. And it's all simultaneously Shravanam. We're chanting and listening. We're listening and chanting. So it's such a potent cycle. And there's a lot of instances where Srila Prabhupada stresses this. And I think it's quite important because I know for me it's quite easy to get in this frame of mind that Kirtan is a certain thing and like it has to be done a certain way. And then, I'm reminded that spiritual life and devotional service can't be put in a box like that. And I wanted to share a few things that Srila Prabhupada says in respects to this. So in a letter to Brahmananda in May 1969, just read one short sentence, he says, regarding your request for a kirtan musician, we don't require anyone who is musically talented. And in a letter to Jadurani on May 26, 1969, he says, please accept my blessings. I thank you very much for your letter dated May 9th, 1969, and I have noted the contents carefully. Regarding your questions about kirtana, practically we are not concerned with the instruments. They are used sometimes to make it sweeter, but if we divert our attention for using the instruments more, that is not good. Generally, kirtan is performed with mridanga and kartals, but if somebody is an expert instrument player, he can be admitted to join Sankirtan. We can accept everything from Krishna's service, but not taking the risk of diverting attention to any other thing which will hinder our Krishna consciousness. That should be our motto, our principle. So, like balancing this principle of like everything can be dovetailed, everything can be used for devotional service, whatever musical inclination, desire to be looked at as a musician or whatever we might have, we can use that for our Krishna consciousness. And at the same time, none of that's required. I know for me, there in terms of like the musicality of kirtan, I know, for example, in like when he's talking about making it sweeter, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, 500 years ago, Krishna came directly and revived this chanting, this congregational chanting. And when his associates would create these Sankirtan parties of people just coming together and chanting in blissful glory, rejoicing and praying like this to Krishna, chanting the holy name. And whole towns and villages would come alive with so much joy. There's so much transcendental bliss happening, right? And he's reviving this, and they would have expert kirtaniyas, mridanga players, and it's very sweet. It's heightening the sweetness of the kirtan, and really in this mood of just channeling all that towards serving the Lord. So we can look at that and like, of course, we want to make kirtan sweet. And at the same time, the principle is like, we also don't want to distract ourselves. And the principle of like, yeah, and I might have some ego around it or some fear around it, insecurity. And I can serve all that up. I can use that all in my devotional service. And it all becomes purified through engaging in devotional service. I found it interesting, particularly around harmonium, in a letter to Bahudak in January 1976. He says, the harmonium may be played during bhajan if there is someone who can play melodiously, but it is not for kirtan and arti. So we can see Srila Prabhupada, he plays harmonium beautifully and gave us so many of these songs of the Vaishnavacharyas where he plays harmonium in a way that really, like, I know for myself, it like pulls at my heartstrings. It definitely entertains my mind, and it captures me, you know, on a material and spiritual level. I see how he's like this magician at just bringing me closer, at you know, reviving these whatever little spiritual mood I have to serve. Srila Prabhupada expertly is using everything to wake that spark up. So yeah, we can follow his example, and of course we can endeavor to play instruments nicely, and yeah, we want to make nice kirtan for glorifying Gaura-Nitai and Radhesham, Srila Prabhupada. And this is not the emphasis of kirtan. I want to share, like, I've spent many months in Vrindavan. I've never actually been to Vrindavan, but I've spent many months there. And for me, I noticed this thing that started happening where I would get so much appreciation of really old, like, sadhus, devotees in a temple just singing like totally off key with their voices just totally croaking, and with so much devotion. And Mother Malini was mentioning the other day of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, talking about, I'm paraphrasing completely, but when there's someone who is not a great singer, that's an opportunity for us. Actually, it's like even better for us to like really connect with the holy name. My sense is like, yeah, sometimes when something's like really sweet and musical, it's like easy for my mind to be like entertained by it, and that's nice. It's like captivating. And at the same time, sometimes for me, and like listening to just like the mood and the devotion behind it, it's like a more subtle experience, and I can get a deeper appreciation for the holy name. In Vrindavan also, there's thousands and thousands of widows. Many widows in India go to take refuge to marry Krishna, to take refuge of Krishna, because they're alone. They're in a somewhat of a desperate situation in India for widows. So they go to Vrindavan, and in many temples on many evenings and mornings, you can just hear like all these widows singing the Maha Mantra. And it's so beautiful. And they'll play them like a drum, like very, very simply, and they're singing, and you know, they're not musicians at all, but they're singing with such sincerity, with so much devotion, calling out, as Prabhupada would say, like a child crying for its mother. So that mood, those devotional moods of separation, of yearning to serve, of yearning to be alive in that fire of unity with Krishna, that is the purpose of kirtan. And yeah, so this weekend we have this opportunity created by the community to come together and to, you know, to ignite that flame within each of us by each acting as an ember that can stoke that fire, that we can pray to Sanatan Goswami, to Srila Prabhupada, to our parampara, that we may be instruments of love for Krishna, that we may serve Krishna, praying to Krishna directly, that we may serve him, to please engage us in his service, and relishing in that, in those holy names, relishing in the peace that comes from the transcendental sound vibration that naturally happens. You know, we're connected with Krishna, and we can let go for a moment of our thoughts and our anxieties and our worries. They're purified by this chanting. And a beautiful aspect of chanting in a group is that, you know, if we start to falter, if we start to get distracted, then we can reconnect with the group, and that helps us reawaken that spirit. You know, so we can hold each other up. Like the biggest trees here in the U.S., they're giant redwoods, sequoias, and they're hundreds of meters tall, and they actually don't have very deep roots. Their roots intertwine with each other, and they hold each other there. So just like that, we can support each other in chanting, through congregational chanting, and wake up that fire. That's all I'm going to share for now. And I'd be happy to hear a few comments, questions, challenges.
I have a question. Why, you mentioned specifically this particular configuration of Krishna's names. It's what's powerful, it's what's helpful. Can you speak anything to like, and I know Prabhupada stresses to not chant concocted mantras, even if they're all made up of God's names. Why is that a problem? Or like, how come it's these specific words? Like, why couldn't I say, Hare Krishna, Krishna Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Rama Krishna, Krishna Hare? Why couldn't I just like randomly do it like that? Yeah, if they're all God's names and they're non-separate, then why is it so stressed? Don't do stuff like that.
Yeah, wonderful question. Thank you. Let's see what comes up. So, yeah, a few things come up for me around that, and I definitely resonate with that question, being in that question, and yeah, a few things that come up is recently we've been discussing the importance of humility in spiritual life, and for me, I know practically, like, accepting that this configuration is especially auspicious. Not that, yeah, if I chanted any name, like Srila Prabhupada stresses that any name of God, like the chanting of God's name, whether it's Allah, Jehovah, and like all and these bona fide names in different traditions, this is all kirtan, this is all auspicious and the simplest and most powerful way in this age of Kali. So yeah, we can chant different mantras, and there's a different result. There's a different experience and result. And so this Maha mantra is especially recommended, just like, you know, we can do math with different numbers, and it's all math, and it, you know, we can achieve certain purpose with it. And you know, there's special configurations of equations that'll get us a specific result. So if I think about it, like, yeah, that's a reality that I see, that it's not like just whimsical, like anything will do anything and I can do anything and anything will happen. It's like there's a code, there's a process for everything to get a specific result. So this Maha mantra, my understanding is, like Srila Prabhupada talks about hara being the internal potency, the pleasure potency of Krishna, Radha, you know, the flower of devotion, Radha's Krishna's expansion, and you know, the highest form of love, and this name Krishna and Rama, direct forms of addressing Krishna as the all attractive, as the source of all pleasure and bliss. And so, like, my understanding is, like, if we enter into God consciousness through this mantra, it's like we're gonna get it at its like purest, most powerful root and potency. So that's my understanding and belief of what Srila Prabhupada is endeavoring to give us, is like the highest, sweetest core of love and exchange with God. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think I particularly like your math analogy, certain mathematical functions to get to specific results.
Mm-hmm.
Hare Krishna, I appreciate the question and response. And following on that, well, like kind of like in your question, and kind of in the example you gave, yeah, that's fine. It's like Rama, Krishna, so it's all transcendentally good, as Narayan emphasized, as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu emphasized, Nam Namakari Bahodan, Yija Sarva Shaktis, Tetrapritanyamte Smarane Nakala, all names of God, it's auspicious to chant. So that's good and transcendently good. And then there's it's personal relationship. And I think an important element of this conversation is rasa. Rasa means personal relationship or personal flavor. Because again, in kind of like what you chanted as when you were trying to show maybe a different sort of mantra, that was fine. It was like Rama, Hare. Now, there's actually a place in Chaitanya Charitamrita, and I remember it was a few years ago. It was a Gaura Purnim festival at Dadam Khalsa's place. He hosted Gaura Purnim, and we read from that particular verse and purport. And in the purport, Prabhupada gives an actual concocted mantra, and he actually states it. And it might be something like Nitai Gaur Radhe Sham Krishna Hare Ram. Now, even though it's an authorized concocted mantra, it's all bona fide names of the Supreme. Nitai Gaur Radhe Sham Hare Krishna. But the rasa means like we're chanting to a person, we're serving a person. So that would be an example of something that even if someone chants it, they will make advancement because it's names of God. But the rasa, just like if a cook is preparing a preparation, this spice good, this spice good, this spice is, all the spices are good, but they can be mixed in a way. It doesn't work. So, for example, we're personally approaching and trying to serve and please Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya, and for them, it's very displeasing to kind of combine them with Radha Sham, Radhe Sham. they're seeing themselves as servants of Radhe Shyam. So there's, yes, whereas like with Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda, that it's naturally pleasing to them that they're combined with their associates, Gadadhar and Srivas Thakur, Sri Advaitacharya. Like when Lord Chaitanya some would say, you are, when Sanatan Goswami, because Narayan's focusing on Sanatan Goswami, when Sanatan Goswami would say, you're an incarnation of Krishna, Lord Chaitanya would close his ears. He didn't want to end it. He didn't want to hear. It was displeasing for him. Of course, that was Sanatan Goswami's service to do. But so, like, if we have some mantras can combine different names and forms of Krishna, that the combination is not pleasing. Is not pleasing. Each name in itself is transcendental.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Prabhu. Okay, and
Hare Krishna.
and I'll just say we'll take yours, and then that'll be it because we want to prepare for the kirtan starting soon. So yeah, what did you want to share?
I just want to know who revealed the mantra to us, who spoke it, and where.
Well, my understanding is eternal mantra. So it's revealed in the Upanishads. To me, it was revealed by my parents who got it from Srila Prabhupada. But I'm curious to hear what Dear Govinda would say.
Isn't there that famous Kali Sancharayan Upanishad?
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, that's what I quoted from the Kali Shantarana Upanishad.
Okay.
So it's personified Veda. The one who's chanted Veda all the time.
That was like one thing my guru always said, we hear the personified Vedas and you just think like a cartoon with these books with arms and voices, When actually, like, well, for again, baseball, bring up my old favorite baseball. Pete Rose, as Dear Govinda may remember, was called the personified, he was called Charlie Hustle. Because he would, even when he got a walk to first base, he would run down there. Usually people walk very casually. But he was so much hustler, so he was the personification of hustle. So a person who personifies the Vedas by living them out, they are the personified Vedas. They're not books, they're just people who personify the Vedas. And I like that simple thing.
The reason why I asked is because I was thinking of like receiving what's being offered to us is one other reason to chant the mantra. This is what's been offered to us, and I was kind of wanting to feel personal connection to who and when it was revealed. So that's sort of where I was coming from, like why we would chant this mantra. Like, this is what's being offered, and just receiving the gift, and not trying to say, oh, I want a different gift. I want a different method or mantra. This is the one that's being offered. So that's kind of where I was coming from. But so I'm hearing it's the personified Vedas. That's the answer.
Really appreciating your mood of, that's a beautiful mood of gratitude and humbly accepting what's being given, and appreciating that. And Kali Shantarana Upanishad, personified Vedas, Srila Prabhupada, Krishna. They're the givers of this mantra.
For us, just to see that we are receiving the mantra from Srila Prabhupada is like, that's what I appreciate Dominique's point, because we are receiving Srila Prabhupada tell us, chant this mantra and you're going to transform and change. And then we chant this mantra and others do too, and we see transformation. Yeah.
Jai, Harinam Mahamantra ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you all for joining. Look forward to chanting with you this weekend. If you're not leading, consider there's a few slots. I think everyone here is leading, but yeah, I look forward to chanting with you all. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.